Awesome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Protecting Users with Protected Users. My name is Jake Hildreth. I am a recovering systems administrator. I've been in security specific for about a year and a half now with Trimarc. I now lead our Active Directory security assessment team. But before that, I worked about 22 years in various roles, starting at help desk, moving through consulting, and then did the brunt of my work at the city of Bowling Green, Ohio. So about 16 years there, digging into all the crap that my predecessors put into Active Directory. So that's where I learned all the stuff that I know about Active Directory. That is where I got all of the information for this talk. I am a husband and a dad, husband to Carrie, dad to Kate, and a blue teamer for life. How many blue teamers do we have here? Defenders. All right, we got a few. Hey, I know those guys in the back. So today we are going to talk about the Protected Users Group, which has one of the most boring but also most descriptive names ever. So blue teamers, who has heard about, you Trimarkers don't get to talk about this. Who has used the Protected Users Group in their environment? Have you heard of the Protected Users Group? Okay, we got some here's, we got some yeah, okay, good deal. So all it is it's a group. Looks like a normal group. I came across it about 5 years ago, I think, just kind of poking around, trying to figure out why I had so many nested user groups all across the place, screwing up all of my account tiering. And I said, what is this? Did a little digging and found out it is a group. When you add members to it, gets a series of protections applied to those user accounts. It's been around for 9 years, so 2012 R2 it came out. And yeah, supported by default from 2012 R2 and Windows 8.1, and then we backported it to Server 2008 and Windows 7 and Server 2012. In order to get access to this group, all you have to do is elevate your domain functional level to 2012 R2 and promote a 2012 R2 DC to be the PDC emulator. Once you do that, you have access to this Protected Users Group. You can see it back, I believe, to Server 2008 DCs and use it there. So now that I've described what it is, why are we talking about this? No one uses this damn group, as we saw. In my day-to-day, doing Active Directory assessments, I would say I look into at least 2 environments a week. Yeah, usually 5 to 8 a month, somewhere in that range. I would say, back me up here, guys, 5%? 5%? Oh, Brandon's saying lower than 5% have members in Protected Users, let alone all of their AD admins. That's what this group is designed to protect, is your AD admins. That's what we're going to focus on today, is just AD admins. I know we have other administrators, workstation admins, server admins, etc. We're going to focus on AD admins because, well, that's what I do for my job, so that's what I know. And like I said, no one uses this damn thing. Occasionally we'll see like a company that's got one user in the Protected Users Group. So what does it actually do? It provides a ton of protections to your highest privileged users. Primary thing, no more plain text credentials are cached. And with that, we also have no cached logons. So, if you're working remotely or don't have connection to a DC, you're not going to be able to log in once you have members in this group. Delegation is no longer allowed for members of this group, with some very small exceptions that we'll talk about in a little while. And the thing that was most annoying for me when I was using this in my previous gig was the Kerberos ticket lifetime being limited to 4 hours with no extension at all. I was a bad admin, I'm going to admit it, and would just leave stuff logged in all the time, and every 4 hours to be like, why do I have to log out and log back in again? Why do I need to lock and re-authenticate? But you know, it's sort of important. And the most important thing, NTLM authentication is no longer allowed. This morning over in track 1, we had Brandon back there talking about you know, forced NTLM auth from SECM. Derek was speaking about NTLM and how it's terrible, and I agree, it is terrible. Let's get rid of it. Unfortunately, not quite as easy as just saying get rid of it, but this is step number 1 that you can do to move towards eliminating NTLM. Speak a little more on that. We'll move on. So why do these protections matter? It basically prevents credential leakage, which generally results from bad admin behaviors. Number 1, no account tiering or tiering not strictly enforced. The best way I can describe this is my old boss. I hate to admit this, would use our domain admin as his daily driver. Like our RID 500 account was his daily driver. And despite us having tiering laid out, I did not have the authority to do anything more. I kind of slid in the protected users group, and suddenly all the stuff he wanted to do just didn't work right. And so then he converted over to using his normal account as a daily driver and elevating when need be. It took about a year of work to get there, but we got him there. Additionally, AD admins being used as service accounts. We don't want to see that. You shouldn't, unless absolutely necessary. We don't want to see AD admins being used as a service account. If they're in protected users, you're going to have hit or miss behavior. So let's just work on getting the service accounts out of AD admins to begin with, and protected users can help with that. And then, like I talked about earlier about the 4-hour timeout really being a pain in my ass, it eliminates that functionality because, you know, if you mistakenly leave a VMware session logged in or an RDP session logged in, and somebody else claims that session, you know, they only have a certain period of time before they're going to be booted out. Another thing is it greatly increases the difficulty of delegation attacks. Microsoft claims that it eliminates delegation attacks, but there are some certain configurations that may still happen. For example, if you've disabled Kerberos pre-auth, which you should never do for any account for any reason, you can still ASREP an account that's in ASREP roast an account that's in protected users. So it doesn't eliminate it completely, but and then most importantly, since there's no NTLM, we are not able to pass the hash around. It just doesn't work. So how do we move to using the protected users group? I can't believe I had to put these 2 points on the slides. But if you're still running DCs older than Server 2008, please upgrade them. Please, just, you'll make my life so much happier. But yeah, upgrade to 2008 or higher. And make sure you change any AD admin accounts that were set more than 14 years ago. Thank you. Thank you. Please do that. Do it today. I don't even care how old it is. Just do it today. And then we're going to go ahead and move one user into the protected users group and test thoroughly. Obviously, I mean, we all say test, test, test. But yes, this is incredibly important. We're going to talk about on the next slide exactly what the limitations are that come from placing users in this group. But it's not, if you have account tiering in place, it should not be a painful lift. If you do not have account tiering in place, you will figure it out real quick that it's not fully taken care of. Then, over time, add another, and add another, etc., until you have, yes.
Question about accounts here. Do you mean having a daily driver subgroup for your admin?
Exactly. Yeah, the situations that we've seen where people have problems with it is, again, using their admin account as a daily driver. And it's surprising still how often we see that. It's much smaller. I would say in the year and a half that I've been with Trimarc, I'm only seeing that maybe once. So it doesn't happen often anymore, but I know, especially in smaller environments, that it is still happening. Oh, I saw that face. Small environment?
Not my environment.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. And then you can either put all of your users into the protected users group eventually, or, and I prefer keeping one out, your break glass administrator account, your default domain administrator account, keep out of the protected users group. If Kerberos breaks, DNS, it's always DNS, right? If Kerberos breaks, you need a way to get in there and fix it, and that's what the break glass account is for. Let's treat it as such and, remove that protection from it. However, we've also seen many environments that have all of their users in, and it works fine. So let's talk about the limitations, because that's, in most of our delivery calls, when we are delivering reports to people, usually not having users in the protected users group is considered one of our most significant findings when we assess someone. And almost every time we get asked, well, what's this going to break if we start using this? Number one, your admins are not going to be able to RDP using IP addresses anymore. Why you're RDPing via IP address in the year of our Lord 2022, I do not know, but it tends to happen. Related to that then would also be things that use DNS round robin can fail depending on how it's set up. You think you're connecting to a DNS name, but in the background, your session is being sent out over IP, Kerberos fails, can't fall back to NTLM, and your connection fails. Very interesting side note out of that is if you try to RDP with a protected user using maybe a host name, not a fully qualified DNS name, but just the host name, in a multi-domain environment where there are multiple computers with that name, you may get an error that looks like your password was bad. But really, you failed authentication by falling back to NTLM, and RDP is just not smart enough to tell you the correct error. So that is another thing that we've come across. RDP seems to be the main issue, honestly, because the next one, no non-Windows support here. Microsoft does not provide any non-Windows RDP client specifically, but also other applications fall into this as well, that support protected users at all. So if you have admins that are using non-Windows machines as their privileged access workstation, I don't know why you would do that. That seems really weird, but whatever. It's not going to work, so cut that shit out. And the one that came up earlier this year during, Trimarc did a 10 things to quickly resolve your quickly secure your Active Directory. We did a webcast back in June, which ended up being about 30 things you could do immediately, because we don't know how to stop. But yeah, we got a question about the protected users group and said, I tried to do this, but I work from home and my paw can no longer connect to our environment because we don't have a line of sight to a DC until we've logged in, until we can, get a VPN connection going or whatever. So some solutions to that would be, always on VPN, Direct Connect, the Microsoft Direct Connect. Those both work well. Always on VPN from really any vendor should handle that. But then there are also some products coming out recently that are Kerberos proxies. So that would provide you a line of sight to your DC. So there are ways to work around it. There are also some things with, I don't even remember. I'm not even going to dig into it. My buddy Jim told me about it, and I was like, that's above my pay grade, bud. And unfortunately, there are still applications out there that require delegation to properly function. I'm thinking your SQLs, I'm thinking your exchanges, I'm thinking your SharePoints. Why you're using your AD admin account on those systems, I do not know, but they will break. Thank you, Brandon, for clapping back there. Again, breaking account tiering. Well, that's really what we're trying to get to is your AD admins should only administer AD and nothing more. Another issue that has come up is, applications just not completely supporting Kerberos or not supporting Kerberos at all. The one that you're most commonly going to run into here is vSphere. Does not fully support Kerberos. They just don't enable AES encryption for logins. So if your protected users are forced to use AES, I didn't put that in earlier for some reason, but yeah, VMware just does not support that. They support it for other things. SSH, you can, has full Kerberos support. Their NFS backend has full Kerberos support, but not logging in to vSphere. I don't understand. But again, why are you using your AD admin to log into these things to begin with? Get your tiering set up properly, should be good to go. So, that is pretty much what I'm at, but however, I left some time intentionally to have some discussion, but first I want to thank some people. Number one, Hackers Teaching Hackers. I came here last year, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I get to come back and speak again this year. Then I also want to thank people on Twitter that I asked for horror stories or even just minor annoyances with the protected users group, and I got a lot of good answers. Stefan Buck, Seth Kusiak, Nathan McNulty, Marc-Andre Moreau, Jim Sikora, and Huey. I don't remember Huey's last name. Debug Privilege. Anybody? No? Okay. And of course, I got to thank the Trimarc crew. We got Sean, we got Brandon, we got Daryl, and Brewdog, because what a good place for a conference. So now I would like to open up questions and maybe make this more of a discussion. So, nobody really has experience with protected users groups, so did you just give me the 5 minutes? All right, cool. Yes?
So is there any way that you guys tell, and even if you tier it, have you run into where somebody has it set up for protected users, but then they still have their other account set up where, their creds are getting cached, and you dump those creds, grab those, and they use the same password on the tier account?
We actually don't dump creds, so that is not something that I can speak to. I know that in our the service that I lead, we don't dump creds. In our ESP service, which is Enterprise Security Posture, we can do that and check confirm that the admins have different passwords from there. Speaking of, that was something my old boss did too. Was his admin account had the same passwords as his daily driver, of course.
Okay, you got it all set up, but then it's the same path.
Right, yeah, what's the point? Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Yes?
Is there a lot of value in putting non-AD admins into the protected users group?
Yes, you can get away with that. Again, if it's not your SQL admin, it's not your Exchange admin, not your SharePoint admin, Sure, throw them in there. Another solution that we have talked about, Nathan McNulty brought this up, was he puts all of his admins in protected users. And then when he needs to do admin stuff with them, he will pull them back out. So like just-in-time administration in reverse. So, but it seems to work well for him, so yeah. Any other questions here? Yes, sir.
They've already answered this by saying that non-Windows accounts is their scope. The situation where if Unix-enabled Active Directory accounts, I don't know if that somehow would work or not work, any experience with that.
So you're saying would Unix-enabled works? I mean, the accounts will still work. Unfortunately, you do not gain any of those protections on a Unix-based machine. Yeah. Yes? That it would just, sorry, how long does it take to, once the accounts are added or removed, for those changes to propagate through? That's just your typical Active Directory replication process. So, 90 minutes by default, plus or minus whatever random value. Can't really describe it better than that. What else we got? Brandon.
So when you say again, I did not understand. So when I log into vSphere on my web HTML5, that does not support Kerberos implementation?
It does not support Kerberos at the AES level. Sorry, to repeat that for the people listening on the live stream, Brandon asked whether logging into vSphere via the HTML5 portal would support Kerberos, and yeah, the answer is no, it does not. Yeah, you throw a protected user in there and they can't log in anymore. Yes?
When you say the cache connection is eliminated out of that point, what's the situation that occurs if there's no network connectivity on that device in terms of how you authenticate?
If there's no network connectivity, okay, repeating for the people in the back in the live stream. What happens if there's no network connectivity for the endpoints? What happens when you try to log in? You can't. End of story. You cannot log in without a line of sight to the DC. So, anyone else? Anyone else? I hope all of you have taken to heart the Protected Users Group. I told Steve Seifus from Microsoft a few months ago that I would be willing to go on their payroll as a Protected Users Group evangelist. So hopefully this is my my application. I hope it worked. So thanks all y'all for coming out to see.